Welcome. This is the Late Late Show with BT, where views with security and the law are being provided to you, the public. We are back. We have had a short, uh, it seems like a very long time since we've been broadcasting. But we're back and we are still using the beat. And that is all of the beat stations. So a lot of things have changed. We have moved out of the state that we were broadcasting in, which is huge. And in addition to that, uh, so we moved out of the state that we were broadcasting in, so we are now in a different state. And um, goodness, I can't remember what I was going to say. Uh, so we are. Oh, yeah, I remember. Because when we first began, we were using YouTube, and we stopped and started using Bambuser. Um, but we are now restarting and re-beginning with YouTube again. Another change is that we are now using still 12 a.m. but Central Time. So that's another change. So those are two things that we're using. And so since today is our first day back, we've been using a lot of contributing to publishing and using a lot of publishing. So we're not going to do that today just because it's our first day back. And it was weird because then I think about, okay, well, we're starting today. So that means we're starting today. But when you think of, it's starting at this particular time, where's the prep time? So because there is no prep time, it's going to be, we're not doing any publishing because I didn't have any time to go through it. So we're going to talk about some UN stuff and backstage. So those are going to be our two focuses. So for all you artists and actors and performers and dancers and creative people, this is a perfect time to start with you. Another thing, because even though we were in a different area, we broadcast some shows in the West Coast as well, and I got a chance to go to have some playtime there. So we're going to incorporate that playtime with the show. So on Saturdays, if you are in the area or you want to travel to the Virginia area, we will be enjoying and playing on Saturday at King's Dominion. So it's different than, of course, it's different than the fun that I had on the West Coast, but it is still here and relevant. So I'm very excited and looking forward to beginning. We are still seeking a co-host. Our co-host. We are still seeking that. So you can stay updated with our YouTube, with our Facebook page regarding that. Uh, Before I comment on that, let's go to the beats. And we're going to start where else because we are back at the base of the beat, and that's Virginia with 106.5. So that's 106.5 The Beat. And regarding our co-hosts, questions regarding it, I guess let's save that. We'll come back to that. We'll revisit the co-host situation. And we're going to go to our Beyond Serious topics. Before we had put up on our Facebook page some people that we wanted to assist with the show and getting it up and running, and also being very influential in the weekend part, because the part during the week, the interest was for it to be myself and the co-host for it to be a Monday through Friday show. But because it's a security show, the idea is that for, can't be a 24-hour show. We have the beat for that, but to have a 7-day-a-week show, and the Monday through Friday would be myself and the co-host, and the weekend would be a weekend staff, and those individuals that were put on the Facebook page as being wanted to be included as the weekend staff. Of course, there are others in addition to them, but they were the ones that were first put on there. Unfortunately, the bad news is that one of the ones that were wanted, Tawana Parham, has passed. When I returned back here, it was unfortunate to receive that news. But one thing about what we have with regards to the business aspect, the business side of what we have, is that we still care about that, and everyone that we have that has some part in our contribution. So that would mean that we would still have care to that portion, even with that unfortunate situation. And that's because of longevity. So that would mean that anything financial, of course, would still have the same focus that it initially intended to, with that particular person or contribution that's there. So that would mean that there is still a wanted relevancy there. How we're going to go about that, this is the first show, and those details haven't been worked out at this particular time. But that's to say that this is a Late Late Show with BT. So any person that plays a part in it, we keep them sort of like perpetuity. So we're just going to figure out how exactly we're going to contribute to that particular contribution piece with what it is that we have with the show, and how we serve in addition to the show. So I have on here the egg method that I wanted to talk to you about. Um, just a quick tip, because we have UN 2020 approaching, and we have seen as though there are a lot of technical details in terms of togetherness and couples that have to be worked out before that time. Um, but a key one is, um, you know, my opposite, who's also the co-host. Um, and so I've found myself participating in the egg with the egg method. Something that I remember from my Saved by the Bell days, I think was the first time that I saw that, and where it was a show where it was a show where they were it could have been that, it could have been Full House, I don't know, but um, where you have something like an egg, and I think they did it on Big Bang Theory. You have something like an egg, and you keep it and care for it, and it's not supposed to break, because the egg is fragile. So you're supposed to keep it over a course of time and make sure that it doesn't break, and to show that you're caring and considerate and careful, and that whatever it represents, whether it's a child, whether it's a baby, whatever it represents, whether it's a business, a company, uh, a new place, that you will care for that, whatever represents, the same as you care for that. And so, because I'm not physically with who I'm with, I've chosen to do that, just to keep and show. Doesn't have to be an egg, but something that represents that. So I've chosen to do that and have something that represents this relationship with this who has the attributes of this person that I'm supposed to be brought together with, to have that care and you know something. It needs something needed to happen with regards to bringing together not only myself but the others that are tied into this, and that was one thing that came to mind for myself. Um, and also to contribute to, so it's the physical and the mental, um, and that can relate whether it represents a business, whether it represents like your relationship. So that's a tip. Just because we're not suggesting, uh, in terms of relationships coming up, if you're not with who you're supposed to be with, it's probably best that you not settle on just random relationships, or something that's doubtful, and uh, and address the issue of being alone, um, and how that relates to excluding or exclusion, and um, use the egg method in with regards to inclusion, because how could it be possible to be brought together if you're going through life and walking through life excluding? You want this, but you don't include um, that other person's care with your day-to-day living, but you want it. So it's just about walking with what it is that you want, walking your path, as opposed to just, oh, I want this, but you're still alone. You do this alone. Uh, not there's no everything that is existing within you or about your space is about you alone. So that's a tip for um, with regards to our UN 2020. And with that, we're going to go to the debate. I was going to revisit the co-host situation, but timing. And we're going to stay at 106.15. So now we're going to get right on to UN news. And we're going to begin with WESP 2015, Global Economy to Improve Marginally. Global economic growth is forecast to increase marginally over the next 2 years, according to the Global Economic Outlook of the World Economic Situation and Prospects 2015 report, launched on 10 December 2014. The global economy is expected to grow 3.1% in 2015 and 3.3% in 2016, compared with an estimated growth of 2.6% for 2014. The complete report featuring regional forecasts will be released in mid-January 2015. The global economy expanded during 2014 at a moderate and uneven pace. Trade growth is expected to pick up moderately, with the volume of world imports of goods and services projected to grow by 4.7% in 2015. In 2015, fiscal tightening in most developed economies will continue, although the pace of tightening is expected to slow. Among the developed economies, while the U.S. maintained an annual growth rate above 2% in 2014, the economic situation in Europe has been precarious, particularly in the euro area, where a number of euro members teeter on the brink of recession. In Japan, momentum generated by a fiscal stimulus package and monetary easing from 2013 tapered off in 2014. The region is held back by the travails of the euro area, where the level of GDP has yet to regain its pre-recession peak. Growth rates in developing countries and economies in transition diverged more during 2014, as a sharp deceleration occurred in many large emerging economies, particularly in Latin America and the Commonwealth of Independent States. Among the developing countries, Africa's overall growth momentum will continue, with GDP growth expected to accelerate to 4.6% in 2015 and 4.9% in 2016. East Asia will remain the fastest growing region and is projected to see stable growth of 6.1% in 2015 and 6.0% in 2016. And the CIS prospects are weak, with near zero growth expected in the Russian Federation. More detailed regional forecasts from WESP will be released in January 2015. A sudden change in market sentiment, similar to mid-2013 and early 2014, could trigger a painful adjustment process, especially in countries with large external deficits. A further risk lies in extreme volatility in oil prices, which can have significant impacts on both oil exporting and oil importing countries. WESP is produced at the beginning of each year by UNDESA, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, the 5 UN regional commissions, and the World Tourism Organization. The report's full version will be available mid-January 2015. Or it is available mid-January 2015. So because we've been away for a while, we are kind of catching up with the, still addressing the UN stuff. And so backstage will be the same situation. World economic situation and prospects for 2015. Because I guess one of our responsibilities has to do with, I guess, Attorney General. I guess global economy definitely needs to be addressed and global economic growth. How do you go about that? Fortunately, it's not one of our direct responsibilities. However, it's one of those responsibilities. It's one of those topics that we could refer you to someone who would be better suited to focus on globability. But no, it's not one of our focuses. It will not be the late show BT's direct focus, global growth. Um, so that's our position when it comes to global growth. So, and we that would mean that we would keep everything appropriate. So those areas that are directly related to that global growth, um, that's how that would work. For instance, we wouldn't focus on Africa in terms of its global growth. Neither would we focus on Latin America and its global growth. Just because, personally, I don't really want to waste anyone's time just doing things that, just to do things. Our focuses would be like we want to stay on path with what it is that we have when it comes to, what we have with the UN. We're going to stay on path with what it is that we have with that, and how we have it with security and law. Road to Dignity by 2030 Blueprint Towards Sustainable Development. 2015 will herald an unprecedented opportunity to take far-reaching, long overdue global action to secure our future well-being, Mr. Brown said, as he called on member states to be innovative, inclusive, agile, determined, and coordinated in negotiating the agenda that will succeed the landmark Millennium Development Goals. The UN-backed effort to reduce extreme poverty and hunger, promote education, especially for girls, fight disease, and protect the environment, all by 2015. In an informal briefing to the 193 member Assembly, which was on the 4th of December 2014, the UN chief presented his synthesis report, The Road to Dignity by 2013, Ending Poverty, Transforming All Lives, and Protecting the Planet, alongside the President of the General Assembly, Sam Kutesa, who also addressed delegates, describing the process of intergovernmental negotiations that fed into the report's compilation to set the stage for agreement on the new framework at a September 2015 summit, and stressing the historical responsibility. States faced to deliver a transformative agenda, it stresses the need to finish the job, both to help people now and as a launch pad for the new agenda. Never before has so broad and inclusive a consultation been undertaken on development, Mr. Mann told the Assembly, referring to the consultations that followed Rio Plus 20, the 2012 UN Conference on Sustainable Development, adding that his synthesis report looks ahead and discusses the contours of a universal and transformative agenda that places people and planet at the center, is underpinned by human rights, and is supported by a global partnership. Discussions of the working group had been inclusive and productive, and he said the group's proposal should form the basis of the new goals as agreed by the General Assembly. The goals should be focused and concise to boost global awareness and country-level implementation, communicating clearly member states' ambition and vision. Implementation will be the litmus test of this agenda. It must be placed on a sound financial footing, he said, welcoming the work of the Intergovernmental Committee of Experts on Sustainable Development Financing and encouraging countries to scale up their efforts The Financing for Development Conference in Addis Ababa on 13-16 July would play a major role in outlining the needs for implementation, and he stressed the key role national governments would play in raising domestic revenue to benefit the poorest and most vulnerable members of society. Implementation would also rely on bridging the technology gap, creating a new framework for shared accountability and providing reliable data, which he called the lifeblood of sound decision making. Stressing his commitment to ensuring the best outcome from the post 2015 process, he underlined the need for states to be guided by universal human rights and international norms while remaining responsive to different needs and contexts in different countries. We must embrace the possibilities and opportunities of a task at hand, he said in an early interview with the UN News Center. The Secretary General's Special Advisor on Post-2015 Development Planning stressed that one of the report's main takeaways is that by 2030, we can end poverty. We can transform lives, and we can find ways to protect the planet while doing that. It's not doing things by halves or by three quarters. It's about everyone mattering. To say you don't want to leave anyone behind is to look to see who is most vulnerable and smallest member of the family, and what is it that we're going to have to do to ensure that they're not left behind, because that will be the litmus test of success of what we do. Poverty. Poverty. I'm not, when it comes to ending anything, it's our preference not to partake in that, whether it's ending poverty, ending disease, you know, ending anything. I think it have to be very clear when it comes to ending something, because what if it's something that someone actually has? So when it comes to those responsibilities, such as poverty, it's best that we address it from that perspective. How do you have poverty in where there are different situations, different monetary attributes of our citizens? How do you have poverty in that? Is it possible to have poor and have poverty and have peace with it? How can someone go about that? So my position, and that is for, as it's always been, is to encourage those who have poor, low income, poverty, whether you were raised in those environments or whether you were raised in more affluent environments, to put yourselves in those environments, to settle there, and to contribute that way. It seems as though sometimes when people are raised in those environments and it's something that they have, when their bank account is at something, at a certain level to them, they make it their business to stay out of those environments and to move into what is perceived as to be more affluent, because they think that is how it's supposed to be. But what is encouraged, or what it is that we have, is that if that is what you have, to settle there, to you know, maybe you want a bigger house, and you find those areas where you can have that, in those areas. Um, contribute that way, and not just having business, or but actually residing in, you know being a part of that community. And the same if you were raised, or in a more affluent area, or at a higher price, a higher salary range, um, but you have, for whatever reason in yours, you have low income and poor and poverty in yours, um, in a way that you have more peace than staying in, higher salary type neighborhood. Don't be afraid to move out, and in the same situation, move into an area that's not as rich, or move into that area that maybe targeted for poor, targeted for poverty, and actually contribute and reside, and be a part, be a part of the community. Whether you grew up there, or whether you um, grew up in a different area. And that is how, when you have people that actually, stay committed to what it is they have, with poverty and low income and poor, and then that is where you're going to have that change. Um, when you embrace it, in a sense. Um, and when you have more people who have it, uh, who have that responsibility, as like more thoroughly, in a sense, um, then you have less people, who, where it's not as thorough, it's not as about them going there, and or staying there, or residing there, and contributing in the way that they have it, when it's more like part-time for them. So you have more people when it's more like full-time for them, doing it and going about it, and being about it. Then essentially it will have that full-time focus. So that is what we encourage. But it's also understood that a lot of times when it seems like when people you get a certain money, then that's what you don't really know what it is that you have, or how you have it. Um, so I guess what it is that we have when it comes to public representatives, is to if we're sought out, and with regards to that, we are open to providing that consultation, or that information, if it's relevant. I think I've mentioned a few people that could contribute in that way. But those are ones that have names that are well known. But so that's definitely part of what we have to focus on, is the ones that we have that have these responsibilities, to have them out there in the community, um, contributing, residing, having businesses, um, and organizations, and um, being, public reps for those individuals so that they understand how to have it without feeling depressed or, without going into despair or acting out in a way that isn't, they understand how they can have it and how they can embrace it, then, it would be better in terms of peace and health wise. Responding to demands to monitor goals beyond 2015. These goals and targets are universal in the sense that they concern all United Nations member states, but they are specific at the same time in the way they are formulated at subnational, national, and regional levels. This conference is organized as a high-level forum of official statisticians with the purpose to seek a broad consensus on the strategic agenda for statistics for the consideration of the 46th session of the Statistical Commission in March 2015. For more information, you can check out the Global Conference on a Transformative Agenda for Official Statistics. Getting ready for the 2015 and 2016 cycles of ECOSOC. Preparations for the 2015 substantive session of ECOSOC commenced with the convening of an expert group meeting in preparation for the 2015 and 2016 cycles of the Council, which was held in New York on the 4th and 5th of December. The outcome of the EGM will provide the analytical basis for the preparation of the Secretary General's reports on the 2015 theme of ECOSOC and on the 2015 thematic discussion, as well as for the preparatory activities for the next two cycles of the Council. And with that, we're going to go back to the beat and leave, we're going to leave Brooklyn, go to Toledo, 94.9. So we're back with still with UN News and securing better data for better lives. The ultimate goal to enable people to live better lives. During this crucial year, the statistical community has a big task before them with the post-2015 development agenda, among other important topics, which are also reflected in the busy agenda of the Commission. In keeping with tradition from past years, a Friday seminar on 27 February informally kicked off this major event. The focus for this one-day seminar was the development of an indicator framework for the post-2015 development agenda towards a nationally owned monitoring system for the SDGs. The statistical community and the community of official statisticians stand ready and are strongly committed to taking on the task of measuring the SDGs over the coming years and thereby contributing to their realization. The Commission will also discuss the data revolution and the recommendations presented in the newly released report, A World That Counts, Mobilizing the Data Revolution for Sustainable Development, issued by the Secretary General's Independent Expert Advisory Group on a Data Revolution for Sustainable Development. The data revolution is giving the world powerful tools that can help usher in a more sustainable future, said UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon when the report was launched in November 2014. Statistics to measure crime rates, the number of refugees in the world, international trade and globalization, environmental economic accounting, as well as data to assess governance, peace, and security are just a few of the many other vital items on the busy Commission schedule. National statistical systems therefore need to be empowered to produce these information sets over the next 15 years, a step that also aims to ensure that better data for better lives becomes a living reality for every person on the planet. Of course, because this is a security and law show, when it comes to any type of compilation of any type of data, that is our main focus. Whether it's the number of refugees, whether it's international trade and globalization, so that would it's suggested that you keep that in mind when compiling any type of data, as opposed to using it to attach to fact. That this equals that, this is indeed this, and this is what it is. Making multi-stakeholder partnerships work beyond 2015. The second discussion to be moderated by Mr. Michael Shank, ClimateNext's Director of Media Strategy, will consider ways in which partnerships could best be aligned to the post-2015 development agenda, including how and where it should be done and ways to measure results. Speakers on the panel will include founder and president of the Global Values Foundation, VU Amsterdam University, and founding director of the Center for African Studies. And that is it for our UN News. And we're going to go on to what we have for the backstage. But before we do that, we're going to go back to Toledo, 94.9. So leaving there and going to Nashville, 101.1, still the beats. Beats. Union rules aside, actors take stage names for a number of other reasons. Actors with particularly common last names are likely to change their names. Maybe that's why Karen Elaine Johnson became Whoopi Goldberg. May Ross, Backstage.com. I travel back and forth extensively, another qualification for making the leap from the stage to the small screen. I think you have to be great, says Greenblatt, who has more than 20 TV producing credits for his work on series such as 6 Feet Under. Great isn't how broadcast TV's ratings have looked recently. In fact, Netflix CEO has predicted broadcast TV will cease to exist by 2030. But Greenblatt, a Rockford, Illinois native, dismissed the suggestion that his theater background makes him TV's savior. I think the TV business has been run pretty well for 75 years without a lot of people who've done both, he says. Still, the TV business is changing, and Greenblatt admits his know-how when it comes to producing live events, such as Peter Pan or last year's The Sound of Music, could give his network an edge. So I guess that's talking about by him having a theater background and him producing the live events, that the live experience of theater, um, when it goes to television, that it has a different element versus something that isn't doesn't have that liveliness. Just because our show and our focus is live broadcast, and that will be the focus, of course, for being televised. Because of this show being a security and law show, it may find that televising our show may bring about, I'm thinking that it will bring about more live, whether it's a live event, but more live television, because maybe not immediately, but probably somewhat after, because part of the show is, security. So it would have been, done in a way where these shows could also be live broadcast on television, and be associated to one where they can, broadcast live and it be secure, or have a certain association to security. So definitely that may be may see an increase in that upon televising Late Late Show with BT. I realized it when I worked with in 2011's hit. Next up, almost inevitably, is an Academy Awards nod for Best Actor, a category that pundits consider a two-horse race between Redmayne and Michael Keaton for Birdman. The fact that people seem to be enthused by it means the world, because we need to get people in to see the film, he says. Anything else that comes from this seems to be a wonderful thing. And of course, the idea of people recognizing the work you put in does mean a lot. In some sense, you want to audition because then you've shown the people in charge some sense of what you're going to do. Also, I suddenly knew the stakes because he's an icon and everyone has an opinion of him. You've been in there so long before you even arrive on set that by the time you do, you're kind of ready to go home. Asked if there was one scene more difficult than the rest, a challenging question, given that Redmayne required the services of an osteopath to monitor the physical changes his body underwent as a result of being unnaturally contorted for long periods of time. Redmayne speaks of days when the first scene filmed found Hawking still physically able, then a later scene had him walking on crutches, before the day ended with Redmayne in a wheelchair. By Mark Paker. Lewis, who has cast so many iconic films that her IMDb page looks like a list of the best films of the last 2 decades, will receive the Hoyt Bowers Award January the 22nd. which is passed during the Casting Society of America's 30th annual Artios Award ceremony. It was so fantastic to be able to go from a movie like Goodfellas to The Age of Innocence, she says. It's been such an honor to work with Martin over these many years, and it continues to be. That sense of building a world with actors provides the building blocks of how Lewis approaches her work. And Lewis wants to educate actors a little bit about a casting director's work, particularly when it comes to getting and holding their attention. Jennifer Ashley Tepper, Director of Programming, 54 Below. Our goal has been to provide a home for the Broadway community, all the people who are very much legends in the theater. If you love, you're going to try to be them a little bit, which is totally okay. So regarding the live broadcast that was on IFC February the 25th at 5 p.m., 2001, the Best First Feature under $500,000 is renamed the John Cassavetes Award. 2002, John Waters Hairspray hosts for his third time. 2003, as the United States began its invasion of Iraq, Bowling for Columbine wins Best Documentary, and director Michael Moore makes a speech against President George W. Bush's declared war. 2004, the ceremony has its first red carpet show, hosted by Carson Kressley and Deborah Wilson. 2005, the 20th anniversary show is hosted by Samuel L. Jackson, and Alexander Payne Sideways sweeps the awards. 2006, her signature brand of humor to the ceremony. 2007, a $20 million cap is set for all films submitted. Host for her second consecutive year. 2008, Rainn Wilson hosts. And the win for Best First Screenplay is Juno. 2009, Steve Coogan of Philomena hosts, and Best Actor wins for The Wrestler. 2010, the 25th anniversary show is moved from afternoon to evening and takes place on the LA Live event day. 2011, the Santa Monica Beach ceremony is hosted by Joel McHale of The Soup. 2012, The Artist wins Best Feature, Director, Male Lead, and Cinematography. 2013, of SNL, Brooklyn Nine-Nine hosts, and Sarah Liney's Playbook wins Best Feature, Director, Screenplay, and Female Lead for Jennifer Lawrence. 2014, 12 Years a Slave wins 5 awards, including Best Supporting Female, who accepts the honor on her birthday. Some turbulence ahead. A guide to casting and auditioning for new TV series during the almighty pilot season, from who's involved to how it works and everything in between. Casting directors, producers, and studio and network executives all must agree on who is to be cast. Executive Vice President of Talent, casting directors, producers, and studio and network executives all must agree on who is to be cast. Executive Vice President of Talent and Casting at 20th Century Fox says that not until a first draft is complete does she and her team begin working. Even though the casting executive will be involved in the process from the beginning, an actor won't see him or her in the room unless the actor makes it to the studio or network test. According to Bonnie Zane of Zane Pillsbury Casting, Suits, Pretty Little Liars, casting begins almost immediately after the pilot is officially picked up. And the CDs are usually the first to get a call. Chemistry is always important, especially when casting couples and families, says Zane, who likes to have actors read opposite each other to test for chemistry, but is often limited by the time constraints of pilot season. They are looking at the big picture. Actors almost always have a work season before testing. A work session before testing. Zane says that Because auditions are often taped and the producers or casting director might not always be in the room, actors should consider factors such as on-camera presence and a good off-camera reader. If you can't be in the room live, make sure you are giving yourself the best possible shot at the role. So when we get into our regular news and topics, I'm going to address or comment about the casting and having all agree with regards to casting. The independent film world has long been the playground for new voices in cinema, and this year is no different. Notes how competitive the grant application field is, encouraging filmmakers to bring their A game when applying, because landing one could give an emerging filmmaker the needed edge over competition already getting attention. So independent films. Difficult. Why is the independent film difficult? Why is the independent film world so difficult to have success in? It's, when what I have realized from just being a part of the security world is that sometimes there's just certain people who do certain things, and it's not about monopoly or it's probably more about accountability. So when it comes to those independent type films or independent that type of genre, it's kind of in that line. And so when you have a lot of different people trying to do something that is not really in their path to do, it appears to be something difficult. It appears to be just because it's not on that path. So it's kind of like you don't want to open yourself up to accepting independent projects when it's not authorized for that person to partake in. There's a lot of qualifications that it comes to when it comes to that. So then it seems like instead of it being that, all of these attempts or these projects are more like applications or submissions. But the finished work appears to be like an independent, this is an independent project, but it's like a finished product. This is on my resume that I did this, but it still, appears to be, when it's not specifically what you have, it still appears to be a submission. So, that's our suggestion. That's the suggestion, like Late Show BT, how you approach something like that. When it's not specifically what it is that you have, approach it that it's a finished project with regards to like what you have in terms of portfolio, but not like your specific achievement or accomplishment. Because if you keep it in that type of perspective, it might prevent you from actually, having, um, accomplishing, or, and it could very well be a wonderful contribution to the independent production world. So just a suggestion. And we're going to go to Orlando, 104.5, the beats. I'm going to Orlando, but it goes back to 106.5 Richmond. So that's where we are. 106.5. The beats. So I have to make a comment about my new mug, because before I was using a mug. So I found these, and if you've caught my card, when I saw this, first I thought it was cute because it's like a little can mug. So I was like, oh. But then my card, I have like the little flag type on it. So I was like, oh, I get this. But I'm using it, and it's like it's a hole in it, and it's not like staying, you know, what's in it is having difficulty staying inside, and I'm getting little spills. But so we're not having the best. Oh, so the top wasn't on it right. I'm like, why is it doing that? Like, is the hole in my mouth, or is the hole in the can? So the top wasn't on quite right. That's what it was. So now we have the top on, and I thought it was cute, like a little can mug. I bought a few of these. Um, so anyway, we're gonna go back to our we're in the art world right now. So I guess when it comes to those independent, I guess another comment about that is that's probably a specialty that I have. Um, but I guess we could slide more about that news and topics. Right now, we're still in the beyond serious um, topics. And I really enjoy my time off with the kids, doing the things you don't get to do when you're a working mom, going to baby classes, doing the lunch thing at my daughter's school. She said, I just got this show, Freaks and Geeks, and they told me you're going to be in it. She's not that much older than me, but to this day, it's like I want to be her when I grow up. She clashed with the latter initially, but the pair resolved their differences long ago. You're sort of expected to be more. In 2006, Phillips joined ER for a 14-episode arc. Jonathan Groff of HBO's Looking. I believe in Backstage. It changed my life. Still beyond serious topics, but running concurrently with the theater's lauded main stage productions are the educational programs manages, offering both early career and established New York artists a laboratory in which to play. We are a producing theater, and we have 4 main stage productions every year, but the work that takes place artistically and developmentally in our workshops is perhaps busier than the theater itself. Masterclasses led by the likes of casting director and playwright provide audiences with what he calls a window into the development process. While the Mondays at 3 series invites members of the community to see a partially staged new play, high schoolers studying theater have the opportunity to participate in early productions, pre and post show workshops, as well as year-long residencies geared toward bringing literature to life on stage. Mind the Gap, an intergenerational program that pairs teenagers and the elderly, works with community organizations such as the Staten Island LGBT Community Center and Do Right, a charitable nonprofit. Interacting and cross-pollinating with many of these programs are NYTW's 2050 Fellows, a handful of burgeoning playwrights and directors from underrepresented communities, and the theater's interns. The most valuable thing was learning how to talk with artists, how to give feedback, how to negotiate, all that to best serve the artist, Campbell Orrat says. What is definitely standing out is the Staten Island LGBT Community Center, just because the LGBT community is at the forefront of our attention at this particular time. Which takes us to the situation or the question regarding the co-host. So we're still going to revisit that when we go to our news and topics. But that's to say that because of those questions regarding, LGBT, we definitely have to support, specifically in this particular statement, Staten Island not being directly related to the LGBT community center. If that is not. So the question that we have is that if our co-host is LGBT, then we have a Staten Island LGBT Community Center and support LGBT and its variants. However, if our co-host is not LGBT, then our support would have to exclude the use of LGBT and its variants. And that would include and be directly related to Staten Island. So with that being said, that would mean that our interest for co-hosts could not be both LGBT and the L word. So that would mean that our support of the L word, which we'll talk more about that later as well, with security and law and any viewing that we may partake in, does not include the LGBT community with regards to that being an interest for a co-host or that participator being an interest for the co-host. So it's either LGBT or it's not. So that would mean that that's we'll talk about it later, or it'll be um, vibed about more in the show. If your actor is incapable of certain movements, but the character is, obviously that's a double. He explains. Everything Amell and co-stars David Ramsey do in the gym informs both the creation and portrayal of their roles. On some shows, you go, "What a wonderful story." Okay, now an action scene. Now back to the story. With over 20 years of experience, teaches martial arts, combat for stage and screen, and fencing at several different places, including the Tom Tortora Studio and Conservatory, SUNY Purchase, and Sarah Lawrence College. Swordplay, founded by Joseph Travers, NYC Swordplay is celebrating its 20th year and offers workshops for individuals, schools, studios, or entire theater companies. I was waking up every day at noon with nothing to do except babysitting. We knew that was going to be a sticking point of whether people would keep watching our videos. Drawing from their training and other NYU filmmaking friends, the two became producers, writers, and stars of a catchy brand name that, as of 2011, has grown in several unexpected directions. Have partnered with Birchbox, Bare Minerals, Refinery 29, and Glamour.com to create original online content. We try to find these little moments both of us can relate to. That's our measuring stick. Has it happened to both of us? Is it funny? Can we visualize it and see it come to life? With enough passion and persistence, babysitting can be avoided altogether by creating your own work on the web. The majority of the roles and occupational hazards were cast through Backstage, including the five main characters: Cody, Cal, Don, Nino, and Ricky. Hill wanted the actors playing Cody, Cal, and Don to work well together and appear to be best friends in real life. If you're applying to a comedy show, give us a reason to bring you in for an audition, advises Hill. If you're looking to build up your theater resume with the kind of substantial, evocative roles that encourage your true potential, don't underestimate Houston. People expect the experience to be really impactful because they're close to it. X Theater isn't better than Y. I mean, I'm living like a nun starting at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be in a coma, she jokes. I hope to still have friends when this is over. The Broken Arrow, Oklahoma native, earned a Tony Award in 1999 as 5-year-old Sally Brown in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, an Emmy a decade later for the Zippy Olive Snook and Pushing Daisies. It has performed solo and sold out venues across the globe. If you want to be really good and have longevity, then train and work out. And with that, we're going to Miami, 103.5, The Beat. So that's The Beat Miami, and we are back. They weren't fleshed out. It didn't have backstories that transcended the characters' basic goals. Like television in the 1950s, the quality has gotten better and better, he says. It's gotten significantly better, says longtime voiceover actor Steve Blum, whose work can be heard in the Call of Duty and Dragon Age franchises, along with the second and third volumes of Mass Effect, among other titles. The fans deserve great storytelling, and now we are often given the opportunity to help give it to them in these bigger, bolder, often stunningly beautiful worlds. He will blast through 600 to 1,000 lines in a single day without the benefit of working in an ensemble like he does while working in animation. The preparation is in the decades of training before we book the job, Blum says. But there are ways to research and prepare for working in video games, even if there is little time to go over the script beforehand. The most successful way to market yourself as an actor is to build positive relationships with casting directors through workshops, social media, parties, industry events, and more. Above all, take special care to be kind in all of your marketing. This will speak volumes about your character. What casting director wouldn't want to work with a kind, caring actor? So be one. Mae Ross is an acting teacher and backstage expert. Well, I guess I could talk a little bit about this with regards to the actors and marketing the actors. Um, I guess I can mention that we will partner or have an association with um, an organization that will um, back or that for a fact that these representatives um, have security and law instilled in them, and that um, that is part of what it is that they do. So basically, that's kind of what we support here when it comes to public representatives, is that this is kind of what we have. So it may help to have our that appropriate partner to you know kind of like a go-to, or that where you have that protection when it comes to what it is that you are doing and putting yourself out there. Um, of course, it would be nonprofit, um, just because why shouldn't it be? When it comes to public safety. Turning back the clock. Unbeknown to junior editor and millennial, Liza Miller is a 40-year-old woman pretending to be a girl in her 20s. She's 43. She says she's 41, but trust me, I know. Tells Liza of their boss. Fibbing about her age works, and she ends up working alongside at a big-time publisher. Premiering March 31st, the show's massively assembled cast agrees on two things that brought them together. The script was phenomenal, and you don't say no. I thought the script was so great and relevant. Who plays the boss from hell, as she calls her, and worked with on the 2012 series GCB. I remember that I thought, oh, this is a character I think I could play, because I was falling between the cracks a little bit in my own career, she adds. I'm too old to play the ingenue. So all of a sudden I went, oh my God, it's like my life right now. I think this is a fun way to bridge the gap into old spinstery character women, she adds. There's an element of silliness and then an intellectual element, and they're not afraid to swing between the two, she explains. And that's it for our Beyond Serious topics. But before we go into our regular news and topics, let's go back to Miami. 103.5. The beat. That's 103.5, The Beat, Miami. And we're now at our regular news and topics. And so we're going to begin with just an update on some of our segments. BT Views and BT Raw. With BT Views, BT first time being views in 20, we were, when we left, we were viewing RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4. So we will resume that, but I mentioned and explained that since this is the first show that, and we were starting, that means we started today, that there wasn't any additional time. We only allowed a certain number of hours to prepare, so that time was not put into going back to how it our regular formatting in terms of including all of the segments. So we will continue with RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4 for BT first time viewing views in 20 of BT Views. We had begun BT Raw, and we will resume that as well. So there was some questions. I was considering incorporating it into the show as opposed to it being a separate segment, as opposed to it being an after show. So that's still something to think about. But we are revisiting the L word, and we are going to actually, I was thinking because we had started with the L word, but because there were some issues with regards to first, I guess I have an update with regards to that. There were some issues with regards to, attempted murder, and that was in it, and a lot of other, and molest, and child molest, that wasn't character of, the L word. And so we kind of stopped it. And then when we started BT Raw, we restarted it, but we started it back where we stopped. So what we're going to do is because BT Raw is so different, as you can imagine, from our regular BT Views, we are going to restart it from the beginning, from the tippy top, and Yeah, and I still haven't like finished looking. Like I still haven't finished looking at it because it was first time viewing views. So if if you've been watching the show, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But we're gonna start back that, and we're gonna start from the beginning. And another, I guess, big change is since I was in the New York area at the time. My focus was Bet. Um, but now, since we've changed our location, the focus is not going to be Bet, even if there's still a relevancy. But as opposed to Bet, it's going to be Bets. It's going to, instead of it being Bet, it's going to have that transition, or that is going to change to be Porter. So it's going to be Porter there, as opposed to that. And our focus here, where we are now, is going to be Shane. Um, and of course, as was mentioned, that uh, in the perspective of the character, that the woman that played Shane, being a woman of interest, um, with regards to co-hosting, that will mean that that will mean that that interest includes, I can't have that interest in LGBT. Um, so that's, it's like, oh, it's like the L word. That must mean that it's like for the LGBT community. But no, I can't have both. I can't have both. Um, so that is very important. That's an important detail, because generally thinking, when it think about an effort that involves lesbians, or bisexuals, or the transgender community, you kind of think LGBT. But of course, this is a show views of security and law, and because of that, um, it's unfortunate that we can't do both. And that was some of the challenge of the where we were located at before, because I found myself in that support, um, but I was, it was being redirected someplace else, um, and that's part of where there were any sense, if you saw any of the shows with like the L word, if there were any conflicts with regards to that, that's probably kind of where some of it came from, um, because of the um, because of that. Um, when I said location is a lot, and location had a lot to do with that. But we did the best that we could, of course, in that situation, and um, and we're hoping that it will be resolved amicably and peacefully as soon as possible. Um, so that's what it's going to be. That we're going to BT Raw. It will resume shortly. Stay tuned to our Facebook page for definites. There's a lot of just you know resettling, and because we starting everything today, that means after the show is where everything is going to be kind of start. So um, I don't want to just jump into RuPaul's Drag Race season 4 or BT Raw. um, I don't want to just jump into it without certain considerations um, in its place. And additional current challenges, as if the LGBT community is not a challenge. It's not a challenge of itself. Um, you know, because that's kind of where we're at right now with the Late Late Show with BT. It seems as though uh, this community, this particular woman is associated with this LGBT community, and um, but then you have another woman that it appears that whose life and work has been built um, around this community or with this community, and has livelihood and career and probably housing and travel and clothes and food and all of this has been built with um, support, activity, production relating to the LGBT community. But then is also presented as a woman of interest in um, but the reality is that if that is so, and um, that would mean that the support of it also supported uh, us not being a reality, and the L word not being a proposal or a um, or a request for you to come back to the L word. The L word wants you back. It's because everything that you built your life on is for your L word, or it would have been in a perspective like this L word being with somebody else. And it's because the LGBT community supports this L word with somebody else. So it's like you're a part of that support of this L word with someone else, and that is your function in it, in that community as a supporter. That is this, the other woman's uh, function in it as a supporter of this community. And that's what that would mean. Every cent, every dollar was to support, you know, with someone else. So how could there be, you know? So it's like, okay, so are you? If I can, you can't have both. Like, it wouldn't make sense for someone. It wouldn't make sense for me, being the good guy that I am, to support the LGBT community, and then you're like, oh, I'm the L word and I want you back, because like it's like I'm with this just like they're with, supporting and building and uh, you know with someone else, but um but so then how could, like, then it's like, okay, well, I want this and but then I want you too. So it's like it can't be both. From a business standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, it's just clear. Like, you can't be like, oh, I can take $100,000 check from money that's supporting my spouse with someone else, and then say, okay, I want to be with my spouse. It doesn't make sense. So what makes sense, and I think we've mentioned about bankruptcy. It's like that's the only thing that makes sense. You know, um, bankruptcy. That's the only thing that will equal that, unless there's unless that wasn't the situation, unless this involvement with this had nothing to do with LGBT support or working for and advocating for the rights and the appreciation of the LGBT community, because the LGBT community, is putting me with this particular other woman of interest, and that's why there's a child. So do I just redirect my energy and be like, well, this is who, because I'm a public person. What do we, what if it's best to use public opinion, public support? This is what the public want. This is what they advocated for all these years since 1990, and nationally and internationally, and this is um, who the public wants. This is who this community wants. They have been advocating for the appreciation and the support of my type, me, and my livelihood. And this is who it's associated with, not the other one. The other one has been a part of it, hasn't disassociated itself, not to my knowledge, from it. Um, so I know that whether it's like, oh yeah, we are a part of the L word and we wanted to bring out the L word, the L word that has, lesbians and its law and its rights and its and transgender. Yeah, that's what we are part of, and you know, but now, so what expense was that? You know, um, to possibly have included someone in supporting, like, yeah, go ahead and cheat on me. As long as you give me money, as long as you bring money here, as long as as long as I'm taken care of, shit, I don't care. Do what you want. Uh, so that's what's here. Then you have, okay, well, we're have responsibilities with regards to the UN, and there's a lot of different organizations that come about, and these are some situations that we may be faced with, and how do we address those type of situations? We can come out of it from that. This is how we address it. This was being put in here, and then, yeah, it seems like it's a huge organization that has, it seems as though they have made progress and have succeeded with regards to support. But is that support here? Is that progress contributory to what it is that we stand for? Is it contributory to being united? So that is what's being faced with. And then we have two network shows, one that's also been going on for 19 years and one that's been going on for 10 years, that has to do with belief. That it's important to have someone that believes in you, especially when you have certain responsibilities. Believe in what it is that you're about, what you say, and that is not bull. And they don't go to someone else for validation or confirmation to believe in you. They believe in you because they believe in you. And where is it? Is it with this one that they're supporting me with in terms of that they've with regards to LGBT, or are we bringing out of disillusion and into trueness, someone who has been supporting something that hasn't been for a relationship that is who she is. Which is it? What is here? Which is it? I know it can't be both. You know, I know I can't do that. I can't do LGBT and have a woman an interest in the L word. I know that's not reality. That's not. I'm not interested in someone that's like, okay, I'm not interested in that attitude. As long as I have this and I have that, respect, money, and power. You can do whatever you want to do. Be with whoever you want to be with. They can support you with whoever they want you to support with, and I'll even be with it as long as I got this. And I know that's not me. I know that's not the reality of my interests. I know that. So where is my belief? I know that whoever I'm with, whether there's been over 10 years of support in national and international organizations supporting me with this person, or whether it was put there to for discernment with regards to who we have in terms of our lesbian and transgender and gay community, to discern them and have something quantifiable or qualifiable be available to discern them just because of our scope of responsibilities. I just know it can't be both. And my preference is I don't want to take from anyone, but I don't want anyone to take from me either. I want who I'm supposed to have and how I'm supposed to have it. And with regards to attraction, I found that my attraction wasn't put in either place. It wasn't directed at either female or either woman. It's where I am. It's who I am. It's who we are. And it's the same with belief, and it's the same with everything else that I have. Late Late Show stands for, Late Late Show BT stands for, because that's a part of who we are. I didn't just arbitrarily come out of it, pull it out of a hat. It's part of who we are. And that's who I am. I don't, when it comes to helping someone come out of something and separate from something that is harmful, that's definitely part of who we are. But keeping those individuals out of those type of situations, but taking, I don't, then there's certain attributes of who I'm with that is, can't be taken away. But then you also have to be mindful that this community that we have, and also have to be mindful of how this LGBT community came about, and how you approach something like that is similar to the community that we stand for. How do you approach something like that if it's not who you are? and what is the character that you have to have when it comes to that. You're like, oh, it's definitely not the character that, okay, you know, if the L word is going, if that's the point of that L word, um, it definitely would be the character of my woman of interest to be like, okay, well, everyone that's, tried to have me in that one is, like, you're dead to me, or like that's it. Like, we don't have anything to do with you, or this and the other. That's definitely not the character of how to approach that type of situation when it comes to LGBT, because the sentiment that probably came up from its formation, the community that probably came from its formation, like kind of innocent, but you know, um, still just not who we are. Um, so I did make an effort to see if there could be a sort of ban, because being UN born, and advocating for certain um, uh, unity when it comes to marriages in terms of gay and transsexual and bisexual, and knowing that if I'm not with who I am put with regards to LGBT, that would pose a huge problem, a huge block when it comes to uniting um, what we have with regards to marriages and unions of all types of sexes and genders and couples. It would be more of a hindrance, than a contribution. Um, so if that is the situation, then that is definitely a suggestion of resolve. Um, So then I guess I could talk a little bit about transitioning with regards to celebrity and versus this security community. Um, I did um, and this was before I put like the co-host, LGBT out there, um, but it's still relevant. But anyway, something was brought up to me through was brought up through one of my recordings, um, regarding it was a quote. It was a term or a statement about I gotten to where I'm at, and it's this with regards to I've had experience with regards to contracts and this, that, and other, and this certain person is in my neighborhood, is my neighbor. And so, like, I was immediately thinking that I was like, oh, this certain person is like their neighbor, and like, oh, well, they know not to like mess up in their neighborhood because of this particular person. Um, but then when I looked up the person's name, it was like, oh, it's like this NBA executive. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should have known who this NBA executive is as a celebrity. But that's just, I guess, the point. Like, when you have this security network and then you have this celebrity, so it's like, okay, both of these women in interest is celebrity. So there's like, uh, so then there's a question: do I transition the celebrity into the security world only, or am I to transition into the celebrity and merge? Because in order for that to happen, then the security network is going to merge with the celebrity, to who's put out there with regards to contributing to celebrity. But the thing is that with that is that, like, what would we have to look forward to? It's still going to be the same interaction with the security network in terms of this professional service, whether it's doctor, whether it's lawyer, or whether it's his hairstylist. it's still going to be like, oh, well, and there's like, oh, I have these celebrity clients, or, the lawyer, I have these celebrity clients, or, you're going to buy a house, and like, oh, well, I've sold these to celebrities, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what is that to kind of, what is there to kind of look forward to? So I guess a part of transitioning who I am, what I have into that realm would also include being proactive. So if there's an interest for me coming out there, with whoever I'm with, and also, going into that one, then, it's like, well, step up, go to the law schools, go to the medical schools, don't just be on ER, go to the medical schools. And so we can have doctors, so there will be that merger of, the security network with the celebrity network, so that there are, there's a practice, and, you are going to George Clooney as your gynecologist, that is, what it is. Um, you know, you Wendy Williams is your wedding planner. You're not like, oh, well, this, going to this one that has all these celebrities. No, that is like your wedding planner. So Marshall Mathers is, one of Marshall Mathers for your massage. He also, yeah, he's a masseuse. So it's like, transitioning into that is like, that is the type of celebrity world that I want to be in. If when it comes to, buying a house, or I don't know, traveling, or whatever it is. I, that is where my interests are. um, Acting portfolios. It's, the teachers are the, you know who have contributed with regards to celebrity. You go to restaurants. It's not the celebrity contributor is not just the owner, the investor of the restaurant, but actually, is in there, hands on. Went got the credentials with regards to culinary arts. Um, um, so that's the type of, celebrity world that I want to be a part of. Because yes, I want to go to medical school, and I mentioned, law school and medical school, but should I go ahead and do it now, um, or should I, um, you know, kind of, or should I, or would it be worth it to, have it all merge, with the, because, like, bring it back up, George Clooney. Yeah, yeah, we have a George, we know a George Clooney movie in the area. We have George Clooney with, with regards to security. Oh, you mean George Clooney, the actor George Clooney? So when, you know, that type of merge, when you're not just like, when you understand your security relevance. Um, so should, I wait, and then it's these, and then, like I mentioned, LL Cool J going to law school, going to medical school. When it's, you understand as a professional artist that your work been put out there, what your security relevancy is, um, or, this, that's kind of where it's at right now. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna. But if part of what I have is to have them, oh, well, I did this movie, and I was like the mechanic. All I did was just held a little wrench, and, because but actually, you know have a mechanic, and it's like, that is what I am supporting and kind of seeking out in terms of like coming out and this actually being televised and Late Late Show with BT. And it's not just you gave someone $50,000 to open up a hair shop, but you actually Golden Brooks actually, Queen Latifah actually is a hairstylist, actually, contributes off screen with cosmetology. So that is kind of what I'm being put out there with, so it's not just, the doctors and lawyers, but what about all the other ones and all the other roles, like the culinary and the landscaping, what about all of that? Oh, I guess I'm supposed to, as a celebrity, I'm supposed to go through every single occupation that I want to have, that I need, have something that like, where is you want to merge if you want, as who have been contributing to the celebrity, who have the security relevance. You want to, and if you are ready to merge the security with the celebrity, be about it. And, I put all of my time into learning the craft. But who are you in it? Be about being who you are in it. So we are going to still resume the Ella Puja Hasta La Vista Baby song. So yeah, we're going to resume nothing that we have stopped. There has been an update with the strawberry shortcake. The BT Strawberry Shortcake View on Berry City Drama with the Rose. There has been an update there. But we'll save that for our next show. So we are welcome to be back in a new location that's different and more peaceful. And we're still a focus on being brought together with who we're supposed to be with, who we are supposed to have. And so I guess that's another thing too, with that, the same thing, just I guess in a way it increases and widens up roles and for those who have contributed to celebrity. And I said contributed to because being the show that we are, we can't specifically assign celebrity to every single person that is viewed as a celebrity, but who have contributed to that particular segment of public society. So this has been a Late Late Show with BT. It will be the same Monday through Friday, 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. only Central Standard Time now. And we are broadcasting both on YouTube and Bambuser. As always, bye.